Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that. But don't fret. We've got you covered. This is Cinematics.
Hey everyone, what's up? It's a new episode of Cinematics. We are covering the week ending or beginning, I don't know. It's the week of May 31st. We are covering movies that are opening Friday, May 31st. These movies include In a Violent Nature. That is not... Wow, In a Violent Nature. There's a lot of walking in this movie. We're going to talk about that in a second. So that's that. What You Wish For. The Dead Don't Hurt. And we're going to also give a couple of comments on Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. And also, it does count because there's a movie called Handling the Undead, which when you think about it, kind of sounds gross. Eric Holmes has a quick mini review of Handling the Undead. We will do a full review of the movie next week because that's when the movie expands. But Handling the Undead will be opening at the IFC Center in New York on May 31st. So Eric will give the little skinny on if the movie is really dead on arrival or it is deadly good. We'll see what happens. Let's start with our intro. I see here that there is a Project Hail Mary reference, Eric Holmes. By the way, we just finished our Patreon for this month and we covered some really good movies. What movies did we cover, Bruce Berge?
Nighthawks and Outland.
Some really interesting stuff. If you want to listen to our, it was Eric Holmes' month. He did a great job. Also, he has a fascinating murder story regarding an actress who starred in an Elvis Presley movie. You got to check it out. It's only available for our Patreon. So check out that murder story, which Eric just threw out of the blue and really surprised me and Bruce. That was the highlight of the Patreon episode, along with our reviews of some really interesting movies. Nighthawks and Outland. What interesting stuff. Eric, were they both interesting movies? What did you think? 3.5 stars for our Patreon episode. How would you rate it? 5 stars? 4 stars?
I would rate
6.9?
all of our Patreon episodes 5 stars, 6.9 stars even.
Yes. Eric Holmes, a pitch man, right? You are the pitch man. Remember?
Yep.
You did that. What was pitch people? You're doing the pitch people and you have something else to pitch this week. What are you going to pitch? Something about Hail Marys?
Oh yeah. So anyway, they just today they announced that they cast Sandra Hüller in the movie Project Hail Mary, which love the book. I think I've read it or listened to the audiobook at least 15 times now. It's kind of my go-to. Like I'll just put the audiobook on, put headphones on, and just ignore everything else. It's awesome.
From the writer who did The Martian, correct? It's from the writer who did The Martian.
Yeah, Andy Weir.
Okay.
And then the screenplay for Project Hail Mary is being written by Drew Goddard, and it's being directed by Lord and Miller.
Okay.
They got Ryan Gosling playing Ryland Grace, who's the main character in Project Hail Mary, which is perfect casting. And one of the best characters in that book is Ava Stratt. And they didn't say Sandra Hüller's playing Ava Stratt, but when they announced it, she was in the movie. I'm like, she has to be playing Ava Stratt. And it's, if she is, she has to be playing that. That's like, I mean, the book's full of great characters, but she's like one of the great characters. However, this is a warning to everybody. In every article I've seen about Sandra Hüller being cast, they also spoil a huge reveal halfway through the book. I implore you. Now, granted, I could spoil the book right now, the reveal, and it's still a great book, and I'm sure it'll still be a great.
Why do people do that, Eric? Why? What is that?
And it's a reveal halfway through that maintains through the rest of the book. So it seems like it's kind of like spoiling the coffee table. There's a thing that happens.
Oh my God!
You kind of have to talk about.
Yeah, people should not do that.
If you go in cold, that's going to be a thing that, I didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah, I know.
And so Project Hail Mary has a reveal halfway through that maintains through the rest of the book. But that reveal, you only get that reveal once. And I think if you're going to wait for the movie, because now it looks like the movie's coming out in 2026, I almost guarantee that reveal in the book is going to be spoiled in like upcoming cast releases or any trailers that come up. You will know what that reveal is before you go see the movie. I implore you, read the book, listen to the audiobook, because that reveal is so good, and you can't get that back once it's gone.
Right. We could do a complete podcast episode on why spoilers suck or why they don't suck.
Yeah.
And sometimes you think about the corporations they say, oh, well, if we reveal the spoiler, it'll draw more people in. And business wise, that could be true.
Yeah.
But you're just ruining that experiences. But then people like us, we're considered like safeguarding too much. I don't know. It's a weird.
The thing is, though, like anyone that's read the book or knows what the spoiler is, they're first of all, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And number two, they're probably like me, where it's like, yeah, I understand how you need to do that to sell the movie, but just it will be spoiled for you well before the movie comes out. Just read the book, listen to the audiobook. You can thank me later. It'll be worth it.
Bruce, does Eric get a medal for being best practices over the almighty dollar? Does he get some kind of moral medal for this?
I mean, I agree with him. I agree with him too. I do the best I can not to know too much about movies. Like even a trailer I really, really want to watch, if it's a movie I really want to see, I'll just watch like, I don't know, maybe just a few seconds of it. And usually I'll stop it. I'll be like, okay, that's enough. I think it looks good. And I'll just stop there. So,
yeah, well, I want to know. So sometimes, look, we're going to get to these reviews in a second. I was putting the plot synopses on our Google Doc last minute, which I always do every week. I should not do them 10 minutes before we go to air, okay? Go to tape, where that is. And I read these plot synopses and I go, I wouldn't have said that in the review. Do you guys ever go there? Look, Bruce, you talk about the trailers. Sometimes even in the plot outlines, they go,
oh, yeah.
What?
I don't read those usually either.
Oh, you don't? Okay, so it's one of these things. And then people will come at us and say, well, how are you guys going to review the movie? And that's such a salient and understandable point. It's just one of these things where I think even after years of doing this, it's still a slippery slope. It's one of these things where I think I err on the side of Eric Holmes, where giving a lot less in the review is better for the listener, the reviewer. Yeah. I mean, for the watcher, because But
then I brought up the coffee table, and that's an instance where it becomes difficult to make that call, because okay, that was definitely a surprise when I first saw it, but how do you talk about the rest of it without mentioning that?
I think,
and we found our way around it. I think we just called it the incident or inciting incident or whatever.
Right.
But like if someone were to give out like a log line for the coffee table and gave away what that inciting incident was, I'd be like, I mean, fair. It happens within like the first 10 minutes of the movie. So
and it's a talking point to really get into the weeds with the coffee table, because you don't do that unless
you wouldn't, like these same people wouldn't talk about like give away the end of Sixth Sense or Fight Club, because that happens at the very end of the movie, and there's still a bunch more movie that you can talk about without giving away that twist. But like with Coffee Table or Project Hail Mary, those twists and not even twists, just reveals come so early in it that how do you talk? And especially if you're giving a log line, how do you give a log line for something when a great amount of that story takes place after the reveal? So you kind of have to talk about it, I guess. But
in the last 6 months, Bruce, I'm going to quiz you right now. Top 2 movies on our Deepest Dream YouTube channel. Look, we do Cinematics YouTube. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs. I put Eric's interviews there. I put our weekly podcast. Please subscribe to us on Cinematics YouTube channel. We're right now at, I think, 583 right now. So we're trying to get to 1,000. So Eric's interviews are there. We have some reviews. We have our weekly podcast stuff, audio-wise, if you want. Please subscribe. Please help us out there. But on our other channel, Deepest Dream, Bruce, what are top 2 movie reviews as far as the views that we've received from the last 6 months from the movies that we've covered? Do you have any idea? Or maybe Eric, do you have any idea?
The Monk and the Gun.
Okay.
Yak in the Classroom.
Okay. Well, a good one. But I mean, movies we've covered, Eric, within the last 6 months or maybe even a year.
Oh.
What are one of the tops?
What was that? Alienoid. Didn't that one do really good?
Yeah, that one did really well. I don't know when that's coming out. I think by the way, there's another Alienoid coming out, an Alienoid sequel. Bruce, I'm sorry.
I think they're up to
Bruce.
7
That's
of
going to
them.
be our screening. Yeah. We're going to have to do. Bruce, you want to see the sequel to Alienoid? You said
I actually kind of do.
Okay. I'll look into this. I'll see if we can get screen. Look, one of them was Sleeping Dogs or Sleeping Dogs Live. Forgot that. Remember that Russell Crowe movie? I think that has like 1,500 views. Second one, La Mesita del Comedor. Coffee table.
There you go.
1,200. Not bad, huh? Right? So yeah.
They wouldn't yell at us for giving too much away, or
no, Eric. Because
I think what I heard about that was like a lot of people were thought it was going to be. Maybe we oversold how dark it was. I don't think so, but that'll happen.
Yeah, Eric. If we actually gave spoilers, we would have had 5,000 views. But you and your principled. No, I'm kidding. I feel the same way. I feel the same way. Now let's get to our films, which we won't spoil. First up is In a Violent Nature. Here's the thing. All three of us have seen this movie. And the plot synopsis is, again, I think it's giving up a little bit too... Bruce, I'm looking at the plot synopsis. It's weird. Okay, when a locket is removed from a collapsed fire tower in the woods that entombs the rotting corpse of Johnny, a spirit spurred on by a horrific 60-year-old crime, his body is resurrected and becomes hell-bent on retrieving it. That is a premise. So there is a locket that's removed. There is someone who comes out. The rotting corpse of Johnny comes out from the ground. And it's a 60-year-old crime.
I believe you meant to say Jason.
Right, exactly. And look, there's some young, nubile teens, maybe early 20-somethings. Maybe I would say early 20-somethings. They're out having fun in the woods. Unfortunately, what's the name? Johnny, Eric?
No, it's Jason Voorhees. The name you're looking for.
Come on.
Johnny Voorhees.
Bruce, here you are piling on. Anyways, Johnny is actually looking for Locket, but before he gets to Locket, he's going to track down these nubile, wonderful friends and youths, and one by one, I think their time on this earth won't be too long. Let's just say that. And let's just say also In a Violent Nature is violent, it's gory, it will appeal to a certain section. Maybe horror genre fans might dig this movie, or whether they or not they dig it, it is catered to them.
They're going to be pretty well split.
Well split. Okay. Well, speaking of well split, there's a lot of things that are split here as far as anatomically. Yeah. Well, some may say nice, but others will say bloody, and they might feel like, might feel like convulsing. I don't know. It's written and directed by Chris Nash. I have my own thoughts on In a Violent Nature. Let's get to the experts on this genre first. Bruce Purkey.
Yeah, so this is obviously based on the template of slasher movies. And first of all, context, I'm not a huge slasher fan. I like them well enough, and a great slasher film can be fun. And some of them are fun just because they're so cheesy too.
Can you name a great slasher film that you specifically...
Well, I'm going to try to stay away from like revisionist ones. I'm going to try to like stick with the classic slasher movies. But I really like Bay of Blood. I really like the original My Bloody Valentine a lot. And some of the Friday the 13th ones are pretty fun. I'm not going to include things like Scream and some of those because they're all like kind of like upending the genre a little bit. But definitely Scream would be in there if I'm adding that to the list.
But you're talking about the pure ones, like you said, like
the pure classic era, slasher movies, which this is obviously paying homage to. This does a couple things. So it's getting a ton of press because of the point of view, because it's mostly kind of an over-the-shoulder, almost video game following the character style movie. So instead of the classic slasher thing is right, it's like a bunch of kids, whatever. So here, pick the setting, pick the villain. They're all at some setting and slowly getting picked off. And you either a lot of jump scares. You never know when the killer is going to jump out and get them, and how are they going to get killed is half of the fun, so on and so forth. That's kind of how it works. This is like, what if you were following the killer instead? And there's a couple problems with that for me with this movie. One, the question is kind of being answered here, right? Like, between those killings in the Friday the 13th movies, what is Jason doing? It's like, well, apparently nothing. He's just walking around. He doesn't do anything between those killings.
Bruce, walking is something. It's healthy for us.
Sure.
And my big
unless you're undead and you don't need anything to keep you going. So
you don't keep that kind of bulk without exercise, Bruce.
Yeah.
It would be a plot.
And then Eric, I'm going to defend Bruce in a second because my problem is Johnny should be built like Gumby because he does so much walking.
But go on.
I'm sorry, Eric Holmes. Shouldn't he be like Gumby with all right? I mean, he's walking so much. He should be sweating. Maybe. He should be like very
sweating gravy or something. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, for me, well, first of all, it's kind of a trope in these movies to have really bland, uninteresting characters that are all going to die. But these are definitely on the low level of that, even of uninteresting characters. There is no final girl. I mean, there may be a final girl, but there is no final girl because there's no one we actually even pick out until the end of the movie to be a final girl. They just become a final girl.
That's fair. That's fair.
I have a take on that. And that's what I thought was kind of brilliant about this. Yeah. But sorry, go on.
So it does all the things. He finds him finding his mask and picking up his weapons. I would say there's one killing that's going to get tons of press, and it's pretty cool. The director, I think, got a start as a special effects person, partially working, I think, on Psycho Gorman. So you can see it in a couple scenes where they actually have some pretty neat practical effects. Not enough for me to carry this movie. Was the aspect
ratio weird? Or was it boxy? Did it have a certain aspect ratio?
I didn't care.
No, because I was wondering. I didn't know. I was thinking, why does... Yeah, but there was some artsy stuff going on. I don't want to say what happens, but there are certain actions that happen almost not away, like really far from the center of the screen. And you're going, wait, I can't... It's not because I'm watching this on my big iPad right now, but there's something going on the right corner, and it's a big moment, and I can't see it. So that's an artistic choice. Was that annoying to you a little bit?
There's a lot of things annoying to me about this movie.
Okay.
So the ending is absolutely anticlimactic and useless. The other thing about it is, okay, they create the whole backstory, which you get in a lot of these movies, where it's like, why do they want to kill? Like, what is their driving force? Is this undead killing creature? But the people he kills, except for one, are like just people that are randomly there. So that is just lost opportunity. They say stuff about the locket in that little description. That doesn't really play out much at all in this movie. To me, the final problem is, it's like my kids complain at me because I like to play walking games, they call them. You know, these games where you just walk around. You know what makes a walking game, if you like walking games, fun? You're doing the walking. Watching a walking game is not fun. So this movie was an absolute miss for me. I think it's going to be, from what I'm seeing, this is taking the spot from Late Night with the Devil, which I thought was okay, but highly overpraised in my opinion. Okay. This movie now is going to be the most overpraised movie of the year, for sure.
But then,
in the horror scenes.
Bruce, in fairness, there's going to be, like Eric was saying, it's going to be split. There's going to be people in your camp as well. Do you see that happening as far as saying it's going to be overpraised, but there's going to be naysayers who agree with you on this?
I think so. There'll be some. I feel it's being... A lot of people are praising it, though, as like groundbreaking, changing the game. You know, slashers now will never be the same again, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just
cool.
Hell
Bruce,
no.
Can I cut that? Can I cut the hell no part? And can I just put that clip to promote?
Sure.
Brilliant. Eric Holmes and Bruce Purkey from Cinematics. They love Inviolate Nature. Coming to your screens right now. And while you're doing that, please listen to our Cinematics episode. Number one with a bullet. Eric Holmes and Bruce Purkey.
To me, highly disappointed. Did not like it.
Did not like it. Okay. Did like it. Cut out not. Okay. Eric Holmes, do you agree with Bruce Purkey on his assessment of Inviolate Nature?
No.
What?
But
no.
But
I thought you would be completely on board with Bruce. I'm not joking.
I'm completely on the other side. But I get Bruce's complaints. And I believe Andrew Martin saw a preview screening, and he's got a bunch of similar.
Okay.
He's got it. So that's why I said this is going to be split. I'm on the side of that. I love this movie, but I think there's going to be people on Bruce and Andrew's side, probably in equal measure. I imagine. Like if this was like 50%, like right down the middle on Rotten Tomatoes, would not surprise me in the least.
Well, Eric, horror is a genre that you're very well versed in. You said you love it. What do you love about this movie? What makes it work?
There's a bunch of movies, and usually call them indie porn, where like nothing happens. And in this one, technically it's kind of the same thing. You're following around Jason Voorhees, and he's just walking a lot. So why do I like this one, but I don't like, say, well, there's another movie we'll probably talk about later, Handling the Undead. There's a scene where you watch someone walk out a door, and the camera just stays on the door as it slowly closes.
Right.
And then it's closing, and then it closes.
And that's
now we go to the next scene, and I'm like, what the? Okay.
Yeah, that's unnecessary.
But this one, it just has Jason Voorhees walking, and he's walking, and he's walking, but I'm into it. And I was as I was watching this, I'm like, why do I like this, but I don't like the other thing? And I think what it is that when I'm watching Jason Voorhees walk, well, first of all, when you first see him and he's coming out of the ground, it's like, what is this? Who is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're walking, and then they're walking towards a house, and you hear people talking. And it's like, are they gonna comment on him? Oh, they don't see him. Oh, they miss him like just in time. Wait, what's going on? And so like as this air quote nothing is going on, my mind's racing trying to piece things together. Whereas with the other one, the only thing going through my mind is, when is that door gonna freaking close already, so we can get to the next scene and get to what the point of this is. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel. I don't know what the story is supposed to be. I'm not following along. I kind of don't care. With this one, it's pretty simple. Like it's all visceral for me. But once Jason Voorhees like kills the first victim, I'm like, oh, okay. And you start getting little bits of story as you go. And I'm interested enough that any little tiny bit that comes at me, I'm like, give me more. Like the mystery of what it is. And then I think it was probably like 20 minutes in where I'm like, oh, okay, this is a Friday the 13th movie. That's not really a Friday the 13th movie, but totally is a Friday the 13th movie.
He's so disoriented now, folks. Eric Holmes is disoriented. He keeps calling him Jason Voorhees. His real name is Johnny. He loves it so much.
Jason Voorhees. They wanted to make a Friday the 13th movie. They couldn't get the rights. They made this, and hey, I'm not complaining. And in fact, I'm saying, and the rights for Friday the 13th are kind of all over the place. So this is really the only way you can get a Friday the 13th movie. So I'm not like, shame on you for doing this. I'm like, hey, brilliant for you for
You're
doing
not
this.
even going Johnny Voorhees. You're going with the full-on Jason, right? Not Jason even Johnny Voorhees.
I got a board game back there called Last Friday, Last Friday Night. It's a hidden movement, and you're playing the Maniac. You're playing Jason Voorhees.
Good
The board game Friday the 13th. They just can't call it that. This is kind of
Bruce.
thing.
I can't break him because he's got that whole courtroom situation going with the other rebuttals. So he's very good, Eric.
They did have the part in there where the music kept going, kill, John, kill.
But anyway.
Yeah.
So, and then it kind of does the Tarantino thing where, like, Tarantino, when he has the violent scenes, they don't come one right after another. They're paced. So when they do finally come, it's like, whoa, hey. So, you've been following Jason Voorhees for a while, and then, he kills some people. There's one kill in particular that was probably the one Bruce was alluding to.
That's really well done. I don't even
turn to my stomach, we'll say.
Yes,
There was another one with the boulder that was really good, but they're spread out enough. And so anyway, as you're following them, or as I'm watching this, following them, I'm interested to see what he's doing next.
Sorry.
So yeah, I'm just following him, wondering what he's going to do next. There's some great. There was one great camera shot. It's a static shot near a lake where you see the pier on the other end, and he walks into the water, and then he goes underwater. And then still there. And like with the scene, not much is going on. But now this is a different part of my brain turning where I'm looking at the practicality of this going, so how long's that actor got to hold their breath for this take? Because he's been down there for a while. Like we're watching
Eric,
this
the
stuff.
longer you talk about inviolate nature, I see Bruce's soul like leaving its body. He's seriously disappointed in what once was love for Eric Holmes. There's slowly just
I'm just trying to explain why I love these shots that seemingly nothing happens, where I hate other ones. And
fair.
Even
fair.
as I'm watching this, like it dawned on me, it was like I should hate this, and I don't.
You're making Bruce love this movie now. I think you might be.
But
Bruce might. I don't know, Bruce.
Then there's the final girl aspect.
Yes.
I'm gonna mention this. If you think it should be cut, then cut it.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to not do spoilers, but if I go too far, just cut it.
Okay, 100%.
So a lot of the characters in this are normally the characters that get killed are normally the main characters in a slasher. This flips that around. We're following the killer. We're not following the characters.
Right.
So any bit we get with the characters are just kind of like a surface level kind of
throwaway. Yeah,
throwaway.
Yeah.
And then so they're not really that interesting, but. And slashers are not usually that interesting. They're just fodder to be killed. So this just takes away. Look, we don't have to deal with all that bull crap. We just kill them. Eventually, they get to the final girl, and at least from my perspective, it was, oh, she's the final girl. Cool. I don't care. Like it just kind of pulls the threads the curtain on the whole idea of oh, the final girl is the best character in the movie. It's like, no, the best killer in the movie, or the best character in the movie was the killer. Like the final girl was just the final person. They don't, they're not that great of a character. And how the final girl is presented in this, I think kind of shows a flaw in a lot of slasher movies that maybe haven't been that apparent, but anyway, that's kind of how I read that whole thing. I do agree with Bruce that the ending was pretty underwhelming. I was kind of hoping for a bit more, but everything else I'm on the complete other side of.
Okay, so Eric, I'm going to do a couple things here now. It wasn't a spoiler what you just said. It was fine. And I also want to say to both you guys, I was immensely disappointed with the third act because I thought it was very dull and protracted with what happens, and the ending was underwhelming. That's my initial thought on it. And then I changed my opinion during this review because it was so unexpected compared to what happened in the rest of the movie that I was actually fine with the way it was executed because it's a different kind of rhythm at what happens towards the end. There's a interesting conversation and you think it's going to go one way or another. And maybe if it doesn't meet your expectations, I was a little bit underwhelmed. I felt underwhelmed, but then I said, look, I can see there's a subtle way of dealing with it. And I really ended up now appreciating the third act. So I'm not an expert on this movie like Eric or Bruce or this genre, but I ended up really, F you, Eric Holmes. I ended up really liking In a Violent Nature. I'm giving it 4 stars. I'm giving it 4 stars. How dare you write my rating while I'm speaking? That is so rude. Bruce Purkey.
That was a prediction. I don't know if I'm right or not.
Yeah, I know. You are right. 4 stars for me. Very good, Eric Holmes. Bruce Purkey, your rating.
It had a few good special effects sequences. I feel like the director's kind of trolling us with this movie, trolling the audience in general, but I guess I'll give it 2 stars as predicted by Eric Holmes.
As predicted by Eric Holmes. Very, very good. And Eric Holmes, again, your rating on In a Violent Nature?
I predicted that I would give this 4.5, and I think I'll stick with that. Although, like, ever since I seen it, like, I just love the mood it set. I love following the killer, and I love the look of it. The only thing I did not love, and I'm agreeing with both of you, like the ending just does not work for me.
Yeah.
If it would have really stuck the landing and got like this just awesome ending, this would have been like a 6.9 easy. As it is, go 4.5. But
the ending is understandable though. The ending is understandable.
It just wasn't like I
got you.
I was pretty much locked in the whole way, and then the ending happened. I'm like, okay. But we didn't mention the song during the credits.
Oh, okay.
That song they played the song they played during the credits was stuck in my head pretty much for the rest of the day, and now I can't even remember how it goes.
Okay, good. Okay.
Ontario. Yeah. Well, you would have had to cut it if I sang it anyway, but
okay, yeah. Good.
Yeah, I think, but this could go up because I'm probably gonna watch it again tonight because
very good.
I had to watch other movies for the podcast. I really want to get back to this and watch it.
Oh my gosh, Eric Holmes loved it so much. 4.5 stars for Eric, 4 for me. And Bruce, generous. I'm thinking 2 stars.
But
yes, it could go down.
Look,
I do.
Don't make it go down. Don't say anything more, Eric. He's gonna
I do want to. I do want to reiterate for the
Yes.
Bruces and the Andrew Martins of the world that hate this movie. I get it. I do.
Oh, okay.
I just disagree is all.
Okay, that's all. Nothing wrong.
Be
Different
happy
countries,
for me
different
that
folks.
I love this piece of shit that you hated.
A piece of what? A piece of oh no,
family show.
Oh, family show. I know. Okay. I have to. Okay. So we have to cut that. Okay. What you wish for? What you wish for? Bruce Purkey, please come through with us. Yes. What you wish for? Ryan. It's a guy named Ryan. He's played by Nick Stahl. We love Nick Stahl, best known for his work in Carnival or Carnival, and he was also in Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. Very interesting actor. He plays Ryan, a second
best Terminator movie.
Oh, right. Very, very good. Excellent, Bruce Purkey. I love that. I love that. Not wrong at all, Bruce Purkey. You weren't trolling us, right? You actually mean it, right? Do you mean it? You mean
it? Number 3 would be number 2.
Oh, okay. Very good.
That's my hot take for the day.
The hot take. Excellent, Bruce Purkey. So Ryan, he's a chef, very talented chef, but he has gambling problems. And what happens is he's ducking a couple of people, maybe his bookie, or he's in over his head. So what he does is he travels to an unnamed Latin American country where his friend Jack, played by Brian Grow, he's a more successful chef with his own set of troubles. So Jack welcomes him to this Latin American country, and Jack is actually spending some time in this really beautiful, it seems like villa or beautiful home in the middle of the forest. It's gorgeous. There's a pool and everything looks great. And so Ryan, again played by Nick Stahl, Ryan wishes he was exactly like Jack, because Ryan feels maybe he's a little bit more of a talented chef than Jack. And eventually that plays out in the first act in the narrative. But, well, some stuff happens, and Ryan finds himself in the middle of this really extravagant lifestyle, cooking for possibly the elite. But what will he do? Ryan is wishing for success and money and a way to actually alleviate his gambling problems. What happens if money starts getting into his bank account and he's finding success? Is there a price to pay? Well, we all know this is a little bit of a morality tale mixed in with a thriller, mixed in with some culinary stuff. I end up really enjoying this thriller. It's one of these things where when I was watching it, I have a feeling that Bruce might have picked up some threads that I didn't pick up on, and maybe he was a little bit more disappointed in this movie than I did. But I was hook, line, and sinker for What You Wish For from me. What about you, Bruce?
It was okay. This is one of those movies that it looks like it's going to be one of those movies that is just middle of the road. And I wasn't even sure what I was getting into. This is a perfect example of one where I didn't read synopsis or anything. I knew nothing about this movie watching it. So there's definitely some things we do not want to say. There's some things that happen to somebody he knows there. There's a big twist to the dinner event that we're not going to talk about. But even if you don't know what those things are, I'd say this is one of those movies where you feel like another shoe's going to drop, right? He goes down there, his friend's living this lavish lifestyle down in this, exotic landscape, kind of living in a very, the very underdeveloped community, but his friend's living like a king here. And you just know that, what is there? Drugs going on? Is there some kind of crime? You feel like something's going to happen that's going to basically threaten or challenge your main character. And it does. There is a movie that I think is better dealing with a similar subject matter that we saw a couple of years ago.
That's
that
fair.
I will not mention.
Okay.
It was a lot more stylish and a lot more, audacious filmmaking wise, I think. And I think I enjoyed that one a little more than this. But that being said, this movie was a little smarter than I expected it to be. And it definitely is one of those movies where it sets up the situation. It sets up the stakes. And your Nick Stahl character really has to deal with some unusual situations, and he has to navigate something he was not prepared to navigate with. And to me, that was enough to draw me through it, because as complications kept arising, not to the degree of like Last Stop in Yuba County, but there are some really good little stakes in this one, and things that are making you have to wonder, like, how is he going to get out of this? Or how is he going to play this out? Is he going to make it through this? There's a lot of little things like that going on. I'm sorry, it's so vague, but I would say in general, I enjoyed it more than I thought.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. The supporting players, eventually, we're Bruce and I are beating around the bush here on what's happening. But I'll say this: there is an umbrella situation. There's a reason why that Jack, his Ryan's friend, is really well off, and they're staying a while in this really beautiful area because there is a hierarchy of people who descend upon the property, and those minor characters
Yes.
are well played. They're actually not rote, especially the people who are trying to move and manipulate Ryan. Again,
Yes.
that down on his like chef. I was surprised by some of the characterizations. Bruce mentioned a movie. Thankfully, he did not mention that movie from a couple of years back. But I think with a lower budget, lower production level, I think it goes above and beyond its budget and maybe its scope. I think it was a really well written and well done thriller. Just
Yeah, and without naming what the characters are exactly, there's a woman character that comes in about halfway through, and she's key, and I think she's really well played and really interesting. And there's an older gentleman that comes into the scene unexpectedly. I'm getting very vague, and I think the introduction of that character and the prolonged stay of that character was really all those events. I think you point out something really correct about this. The writing did elevate this. This could have been super generic, and I think it was smarter than it had to be, and I think that kept me engaged more than I thought I would.
Yeah. So What You Wish For on VOD and in theaters May 31st, there is a little bit of a problem I had with What You Wish For. It's a minor quibble, and I will probably just talk to Bruce about what I thought about it. Well, I don't know. Maybe before we end our recording, when we stop recording, I'll tell you, Bruce, what I wish happened at the end for What You Wish For. Maybe I'll even record it for Patreon myself. But yeah, I had a good time. What You Wish For me, I have a feeling I know what you're gonna do, what you're gonna give. Well, Eric Holmes, why don't you just put that rating for What You Wish For right now next to my name? What you think I'm going to give What You Wish For? Because Eric Holmes is going. You should have. Oh no, really? Oh, I don't do three bangers. I'm not a team player. Yes, of course, Eric Holmes. Eric Holmes suddenly all of a sudden decided to troll me because he knows I don't support the three banger that Bruce termed on that Paul Schrader movie that I can't remember anymore. But anyways, 4 stars for me for What You Wish For, and yes, that is probably the correct rating for Bruce Purkey. Bruce Purkey, what is your rating on What You Wish For?
I was 3 for quite a while, but I think I talked myself up to a 3.5, and he also wrote it down. So yeah, I'll make it 3.5. I would say
I am great at this game.
You are. My biggest complaint, I guess I would say, just as a final thing, is that I think this movie could have gone harder. Like, I think it probably was afraid to go harder, and I think it could have. And I think if it had, it might have been even better. And it did go harder than I thought it would. And some characters came back that had things happen to them I wasn't expecting to happen. But it could have even gone harder.
There is a situation. Well, oh, by the way, I will drop this down. If you like mystery dinner theater, like element, then this has a little bit of it too. And again, if you like. I was going to say, if you love Babette's Feast, I don't know if I'm going to stretch that far, but
no,
if you like
it's not.
anything to do with
Nothing like Babette's Feast.
it's not. Well, yeah, maybe 2 different themes on that, but so maybe I'm reaching too much for What You Wish For. 3.5 stars for Bruce Purkey, 4 stars for me.
It's a pulpy movie at heart, honestly.
Yeah. And Nick Stahl, great. I mean, I'm just glad that he's doing some lead roles here, and I love him as an actor. Eric, too bad. This is one of these things where Eric, we have so many movies to cover. This is one of those things that I think down the road, if it's streaming,
Eric might have really liked this movie. I have a feeling this is something that he might have championed.
Yeah, I think Eric would have liked it.
I might check it out after watching A Violent Nature again tonight.
Again, well, I mean, again, I think that's.
I mean, you can watch a boring movie, or you can watch one.
Oh, come on! How dare you?
You just said What You Wish For wasn't boring, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. VOD in theaters May 31st.
How dare
okay, okay. Our next thing is The Dead Don't Hurt, but Greg Srizavati does. No, that's not the entire movie. The movie is The Dead Don't Hurt. Eric Holmes and Bruce Purkey had a screening link as well. They did not check it out because me being stupid. I realized
Bruce don't watch is what it's called.
Bruce don't watch. No, but here's the thing. I don't know if you guys knew this, but the screening link that I sent you expired. So I at last minute I got a.
So this is a sequel to The Dead Don't Die.
Right. The Jarmusch film. No, The Dead Don't Hurt. It's a movie written and directed by Viggo Mortensen, set in the 1860s, stars him and Vicky Krieps. Vicky Krieps is a, quote, a fiercely independent woman who starts a relationship with a Danish immigrant named Olsen, played by Viggo Mortensen. So their relationship starts in the 1860s. It's a wide scope Western romantic drama. The problem is there is a bad guy here, and there's a situation that's going in their town of Elk Flats, Nevada. So that's where Olsen lives. He has a home sort of at the end of this stretch of just nothingness near a mountain, and it's barren. But Olsen and Vivienne, played by Vicky Krieps, they try to carve out a good life in the 1860s. That said, 1860s, this is the dawn of the Civil War. And Olsen makes a very fateful decision because he, as an immigrant, he feels he owes a debt to the U.S., to the government, to serve some time in the military. Here's the thing. That was part of the plot synopsis, and I was actually going to do a review of this, my own solo review or a written review. I wasn't even going to mention that he joined the Civil War. This is where, going back to spoiler stuff, the thing is, it's mentioned in the plot synopsis, and I feel bad because when that decision happens in the movie, it happens halfway, and you're surprised. And then it becomes another movie. So it goes to Eric's point where it's either way, I think you're going to be wrong and right. So this is the thing with The Dead Don't Hurt. You can't really go deep into the weeds if you didn't explain that situation, that split, so to speak, where Olsen goes off to the Civil War and Vivienne is off to fend for herself in their home in Elk Flats, Nevada. That is a premise for The Dead Don't Hurt. 5 stars for me. I think this is one of my favorites of the year. And here's the big caveat to this is it's a non-linear story. And I'm going to tell you a very big spoiler that's not a spoiler. The first several seconds of the movie, you see Vivienne, pale, on her deathbed, cuts to a night, a night in the forest, cuts back to her. There's the back of a man who's holding her hand. She's dead. That's how the movie starts. And then it cuts to a gunfight in a saloon where the bad guy, you see him kill a bunch of people. And then the story starts. So that, first of all, that's frustrating because Vicky Krieps is possibly the main character in The Dead Don't Hurt. She's dead within the first minute. And you're thinking, oh, so I'm going to watch this Sunset Boulevard type of thing where I know the inevitable is going to happen. She's going to die. That's number one, strike number one. Yes, Eric.
Quick question. You described a bunch of movies I see, and we all see where it opens with the so-and-so, this big, this
reveal,
cold open, exciting cold open, and then someone dies or someone gets hurt or something right. Interesting happens, and then but that was 2 days ago. And then they cut back to someone waking up, checking their alarm clock, washing their hands, doing the dishes. And it's like, oh, I see why you did that, because you didn't have a beginning to the movie. Is that kind of what this is? Once the interesting stuff happens at the beginning, they cut right to the who gives a crap. Let's just get on with the story already.
I think logically that's the way it should have been. But I think the strike two, Eric, and I don't know, this is one of these interesting things. I don't know if you guys, I should get you screener links for this because it's such an interesting movie. The rest of the movie is non-linear. So it doesn't go back and tell you in a linear fashion what happens up to that date. It continues to be non-linear. It goes from scene 1, scene 2, scene 3.
And they're all interesting is what you're getting at.
Yeah, but with scene 4 should have been scene 4. But scene 4 is actually scene 16. Scene 5 is actually scene 32. So everything all along the line, it's just jumbled up. So I think a lot of people it's gotten mixed reviews, but the jumbled up nature of it told a higher story about a bigger story than a person's death. It has so much more. I mean, it's not like a Malick film, but it has one of those very philosophical bent to it. And there's a lot of stuff brimming under the surface. Eric, you mentioned about watching In a Violent Nature twice already, maybe, or you're going to see it.
No, I'm going to watch it again tonight.
You're going to watch it again tonight. So
much to Bruce's chagrin, but I'm going to do it.
Look, yeah, Bruce.
I mean, I don't have to watch it again, I don't care.
Bruce, you should care. Eric's your friend. You should stop him from watching it a second time. No. Eric loves it so much he's going to watch it maybe 2 or 3 times. We'll see. But after watching The Dead Don't Hurt, which by the way is over 2 hours, I watched it again, and here's strike 3. I don't know if it's possibly a strike 3. I understood everything that I didn't understand the first time with a second watch. So there's a lot of complicated things of why you should not watch it that don't hurt. Maybe even strike 4 or strike 1 again. It's not your average Western where it's like a lot of shoot 'em ups. So yeah, don't
strikes, but they sound like selling points more than anything.
This is such a brilliant, subtle, beautiful film about what one will do to achieve their dreams.
And here's another thing that sucks about the movie, and they just go on to explain, wow, I really want to watch that.
It's a very touching and earnest and honest movie about how the West was won. More importantly, how people continue to persevere. It's amazing. The Dead Don't Hurt. 5 stars for me. I might be in the minority in this. Again, I feel very bad that Eric and Bruce, due to my failings, were not able to. You know what? I'm going to actually request a screener link for both you guys. I'm not telling you guys to get to it, but you will have the option because I think this is a brilliant film. And I would love to even hear one of you guys say, Greg, you're wrong. This movie absolutely sucked. I just want someone else to tell me what they thought of The Dead Don't Hurt. No. Okay, so again, in theaters May 31st. Some more stuff. Very quickly, Eric Holmes, flash round on handling the undead. Very quickly, what can you tell us? Because we're gonna have our full-throated review next week.
I'll save a lot of this.
IFC Center. Yeah, IFC Center on Friday in New York. So we're gonna cater to the people who are going in New York. So speak to them, the mini review, if they should see it and what works about it or not for you.
So this is a movie based on John Lindquist's novel. They're the one that wrote the novel Let the Right One In. Okay. And so I was pretty excited about this. This one's not dealing with vampires. It's dealing with zombies. Kind of in a similar fashion. It's a really kind of slow going movie. This is one. So when I was talking about In a Violent Nature. In a Violent Nature is definitely slow, and to some people boring. That's kind of what I feel about this one. This is not my movie at all, and there's just like a bunch of there's some really really emotional scenes that kind of got to me, but most of it is kind of characters staring at things or tracks, shots locked on things that aren't happening. And unlike In a Violent Nature, there's no progression to the story. So the only thing I got going on in my head isn't, ooh, what's going to happen next? Oh, do they see the monster? Oh, is this going to happen? The only thing going on in my head is, when does this movie end? And it eventually did. But I suspect that
the Greg movie?
I suspect it's a Greg movie. I also suspect it's a Bruce movie. This seems like one of those indie porn movies that I do not respond to at all, that you guys are going to love. So
Bruce's eyes are glistening now. He's ready for something.
What I said about In a Violent Nature, Bruce is going to say about this, and what Bruce said about In a Violent Nature, I'm saying about this now.
Bruce doesn't like this movie. He's gonna hate you more.
I know because this one.
You're such an instigator, Greg.
I know. Don't you talk to me like that, Bruce?
Bruce kind of leans into these type of movies more than I do, which is kind of why I was surprised that he didn't like In a Violent Nature. But I was also surprised that I did. So I think this is going to be more of a Bruce and Greg. Okay. I'm glad we're talking more about it next week because I really didn't like it, but I think you guys will.
Okay.
In fact, I think you guys will like this a lot.
Next week, it'll now be called Handling the Eric Holmes, as Bruce and I gang up on Eric's review of Handling the Undead. What is your rating, Eric Holmes?
I'm gonna go with the 2 stars. I'm gonna match Bruce's In a Violent Nature.
I'm gonna put you on the spot, Eric. Was that a generous 2 stars for you? Generous 2 stars?
Not really, because and who knows, maybe on a rewatch it could go higher. It's just it was just one of those movies where I was like, just let's get to the point. Like, what are you trying to make me like? What are you trying to make me feel? And they didn't get to that till like the end of the movie, and when like a emotional thing happens, I'm like, oh, that's real sweet, or oh, that's kind of messed up. But when you spend the first half hour, 40 minutes doing nothing, my arms are already crossed and I'm already checked out. You need to get to that quicker. I don't need to see a shot of a window. I don't need to see a shot of a door closing for a minute and a half.
Okay.
Get to the point. Why am I here? Make me trust you. Make me want to get to the end of this movie. Otherwise, you lost me.
2 stars for Handling the Undead. That is a mini review from Eric Holmes. The real review, while Bruce and I just have all these wonderful things to say about this movie. We'll see what happens. Will be for next week. Again, opens IFC Center May 31st. So thank you, Eric Holmes, for that early review. Eric Holmes, the number 5 thing that you're doing right now, we're going to talk about that, and we're going to split up the show. But we're going to talk about Roots So Deep very after this recording. So trust me on this. Trust me. We're going to split it on 2 things. So that is it for our features. Right now, for our recommendations, we are going to end the show with a box movie that I'm sorry. I was not a team player. I did not want to see A Day in the Life. I will get this. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, man. 6.9 stars for Eric Holmes. Hey, look, Eric Holmes, you don't have to rehash your thoughts on A Day in the Life. Well,
but I will.
10 seconds. A
Day in the Life.
You love it.
Like it was Hamilton before Hamilton. Sticky Fingaz made a masterpiece with very little. It was very exciting and fun to watch different actors that are not normally known as rappers to kind of see what they had in the chamber. And this is just a really creative and fun movie. And it took me a bit to figure out what it even was, but once I did, I was on board.
6.9 stars for Eric Holmes. That's his highest rating. A Day in the Life, again, directed by Sticky Fingaz and starring Sticky Fingaz and a stellar crew, stellar wonderful ensemble. Bruce Purkey, you take the mantle for the box-ish movie A Day in the Life. Is it a masterpiece? Did you see what Eric saw in this movie?
I saw a lot more than I thought I'd see in this movie. I mean, it's probably didn't hit me as hard as it did Eric, but I'll say, first of all, right out of the gate, this is just about as low budget looking as the Hip Hop Witch, but not in any other way. Just in the look. The look is like, it's, was this early mid-thousands? I forgot to write down. Thousands. It's in the thousands, I think. But it looks like it was recorded on, camcorders or the digital camcorders of the time. But the fact that it's very audacious for what it is. It's basically, if you took the hip-hop West Coast videos, but made an entire opera out of it so that all the songs make an entire story, and all of the songs everything's rapped, including the dialogue, and it's pretty entertaining. I mean, there's a song, quote song. There's a song about where they have terrible cell reception. There's the classic scene where they have to pick out all the weapons, and that scene was amazing. Where they're picking out all the weapons, and it the classic one is Taxi Driver, right? Where the guy comes and lays all the guns out, and Taxi Driver, he's telling Bickle about all the guns, and he says, "Well, I'll take them all." But in that sequence, the biggest gun was, I don't know, what was it, a 44 Magnum or something? I don't know guns very well. And this one, it ends up getting up to grenade launching, automatic weapons, and oh my gosh, it's incredible. And there's romantic songs. There's a scene where the dude, I can't remember his name now, I forget him, the classic dude that was in the Mod Squad and has been in a ton of things, the character actor. No, the older guy. He's been in
Bokeem Woodbine.
Nope, but he's in this too. He's awesome. He's like his cousin or whatever. No, I'm talking about the guy at the bar, the older dude with the afro that gives him the watch. That guy's from the Mod Squad.
Clarence Williams, I think.
Yeah, yes. This one's the third, yeah.
He has a great scene where he's telling the young kid what's up, and it's the classic story, right? I'm in the thug, terrible life of crime and violence, and I want to get away from it all, and they just keep pulling me back, and I can't quite get out of it. And it's that. This is a lot of fun. If you get into the rhythm of it, it's a lot of fun. But to me, this would be a quintessential 3-star banger. It's quintessential.
3-star banger.
It's gonna only be for the people it's for. And I don't know. I think Eric would probably in his heart kind of agree with that, because there's a lot of people that are going to start watching this and be like, what are you making me watch? But there is no doubt that this is a billion times superior to that Hip Hop Witch crap that we were being sold a month ago or whatever.
Compare this to the Hip Hop Witch.
We don't, but except the idea that you got famous hip hop people in there and
a low budget rap movie. A low budget movie with rappers in it. But
this has a story. It has all the tropes. It has some incredibly fun scenes. Super low budget, but the energy and the crazy just vibrance of it. I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed watching it, and this is definitely not my jam per se.
This is a movie where it's like we have this cool idea. We don't have the budget to do it as good as we would like, but it's an interesting enough idea that we think we're going to do it as best as we can with what we have. Whereas, even some like a Marvel movie. Hey, we got $100 million to make this movie. What are we going to do? It's guy in blue shorts punches guy in red shorts, I guess. Oh, haven't we seen that? Yeah, but we got a sky laser, so it's cool, I guess. Like there's almost like no creativity or thought put into that. It's just let's throw money and make a spectacle. This is like, I have a cool idea. We don't have a lot to work with, but we're going to do best what we can to make this kind of interesting idea kind of work as best as we can.
And it also feels like that movie where a bunch of friends got together and made a movie, but made the best movie they could make.
Slashback.
Yeah, it is. It has that kind of energy to it where you kind of feel that everyone was having a great time making it. And sure, it's super rough around the edges, but if you can get into that vibe, I think you enjoy it. Oh, I'm going to revise my rating to 3-star bang, bang, banger. I think so.
Okay, so that's A Day in the Life, currently streaming or available on VOD and digital. And it's, again, 6.9 stars from Eric Holmes and 3-star bang, bang, banger from Bruce Purkey for A Day in the Life. Now, every single week, we'll either do a box movie. This is a box-ish movie, so this counts as a box movie. Box movies are picks from writers, directors, and actors that Eric interviews. So Bruce has actually a whole bunch of stuff there, and he'll pick next week for the box movies. But this week, we're doing our assigned picks for our Patreon. Right now, I haven't actually reached out to our Patreon members. Our Patreon members will be pretty much commandeering the assigned picks. Hopefully we'll get a whole bunch of movie recommendations from them, and I'll ask them. But for our assigned picks, we use some of our Cinematics Facebook group members as a backup. These are maybe even a couple years old. So there's 13 assigned picks as our backup. I'm going to randomly generate what we're going to review next week for our assigned Patreon pick. It's not officially Patreon because it's one of our Facebook group members, but let's see what it is. Let's see, randomize. And that is number 3, Rush from 2013 by Ken Cunningham. Oh, well, anyway, I guess we're going to see Rush next week. So I guess Eric Holmes is happy because he's a huge fan of the MCU's Chris Hemsworth and all those Thor movies.
I do like Chris Hemsworth. I don't like that movie.
Okay, Rush. Okay, well,
it's a Ron Howard movie, so Ron Howard's mostly misses for me.
We'll see. I'm a Ron Howard guy, so we'll see. We'll see. Rush.
Who knows? Maybe on a rewatch, it'll be like, you know what? Not that bad. Okay. Sometimes you go into a movie with like low expectations, and then you watch it, and it's like, you know what? I thought it was a lot worse than that. Kind of liked it. So who knows?
And what's cool is this is a way where we can actually interact with our Facebook group members, our Patreon members. Ken Cunningham, it's Hunger. So not Hunger, Rush. I wish it was Hunger. That would have been interesting. Rush by Ken Cunningham. Okay, so that's next week. We will see Rush. Final thoughts, Eric Holmes and Bruce Purkey.
I feel vindicated look. Bruce and I, we didn't come together in a violent nature. That's, that happens. But I feel vindicated that Bruce appreciated A Day in the Life. Today was a good day. And listen to the audiobook of Project Hail Mary, because the longer you wait, the more it's going to be spoiled for you, even before the movie comes out. Well, before the movie comes out.
And as always, final thoughts. Bruce Purkey.
I would just say it's really unfortunate that all of the movie news of the last week was basically how much of a box office failure Furiosa was. And
what's that movie? I never heard of it.
I think a lot of people are going to say, well, because they're going to just assume that it's a bad movie. And I think that it's a shame. I think it's an awesome movie. I hope people will ignore the press on the box office and go see a movie that's really good to see in the theater, because it's a really big, bold adventure.
Yeah, I mean, Titanic made $38 million opening weekend.
Wow, it's weird.
Went on to become one of the highest grossing movies ever. So
my take is Furiosa Mad Max Saga is perfect for your half working iPod. So maybe you can check it out on your iPod. It still has a breadth of scope as a theater. Who cares? I love Netflix. Go hashtag Netflix. I'm just kidding, folks. If you want to hear our real review of Furiosa and ratings, check us out on our another Cinematics episode that we're going to release on Friday. Till then, of course, here's Claire.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for joining Cinematics.